Today, we'd like to welcome John Sharp of Sharp & Associates. Thank you, John, for being a member of the LAX Coastal Chamber, and even more so for being an integral part of the community. You've created one of my favorite events, the Westchester Arts and Music Block Party, aka WAM, in support of Emerson Avenue Community Garden Club, a 501c3 nonprofit, which supports music and arts in the world. And so getting into that, today, we're going to be talking about a little bit more of what you do with music and arts and how you're continuing to propel people into the future of what everything looks like with COVID-19 happens. So if you could give us a little bit more insight into what you've created since the start of COVID-19. As performance venues have closed, tours have canceled in response to the pandemic, and artists are left without their normal means of income. John, please take it away.
Thank you. Appreciate you giving me time to talk about something I'm near and dear to me and have a lot of passion for, which is music and art. My business is in art, and I'm a musician myself, and over the years I've been in different bands and different projects around town trying to get booked at the bars and the venues that do hire live music. And through that experience and through the WAM block party that you mentioned earlier, I've gotten a very good understanding of what it takes in the local music scene to try to break in and try to get people to pay attention to you. And it was that realization is how difficult it is made me start doing home shows with my wife, and I host what we called house music. And for the last year or so, I've had 3 musicians per performance come, and I sell tickets to people, and I give all the money to the musicians. So that started as a personal passion project. Music is a great connector, and it's something that I feel really strongly about, bringing the community together to enjoy something that is helpful for both sides. You know, they get a fantastic concert. There's an incredible talent in this town and around the country. And we give them a chance to get an audience of devoted music lovers who appreciate what they're doing, and they're not playing in a loud bar with people talking and not paying attention. So, and the money turns out to be pretty good compared to.
And I've been fortunate enough to be to one of your parties, so I thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty special. And so we've done a few of those, and then as COVID took its hold over everything, the last concert we did here at my house was the 28th of February, and soon afterward, you know, mandatory stay-at-home orders happened, and I was thinking of all the artists that I knew that were not going to get any income. You know, you start thinking about every avenue you think of in the economy. There's significant pain and suffering going to be, you know, and music being the top of mind for me anyway. I thought, you know, there's no way that any of these people that depend on live performances are going to have a chance to do anything to make money. So I originally started thinking about how could I do the same thing if I, you know, use the audience that I have cultivated for house shows and try to get them to pay money to tune in to a live stream, and spent about a week looking around at different alternatives and realized that actually doing it on our WAM Instagram feed was a great way to have a platform that supported the talent, but also it helps WAM, because WAM is all about music and art. And the live stream there, you know, there's more options now than there were even 2 months ago in terms of live streaming. But I like the intimacy of being able to do a show and actually have the audience responding to the music via comments. So there's they turned out to be way more intimate than I imagined, and way more satisfying to me as a listener, as well as, you know, producing them. And the artists have all done really well. We wrote off the idea of you know, having people pay to join. It was, you know, you join the feed, you experience a show. We have we pin a comment at the bottom of the comments that has a Venmo info for the artists, and if you can donate and you want to, then you can kick in. And it's been fantastic. And the great thing about it is I was also able to, you know, bring in people from across the country that knew I was doing my home shows that never could participate because they weren't here. So it killed, that bird with that stone. And I also am able to bring in musicians that aren't necessarily LA based. I can find people from all over the country. We've had a person in New York, and there's some bands out in Texas that I'm talking to right now. The constraint is that it's an hour show, because we found out by default that Instagram shuts down the feed after an hour. So one of our talent was right in the middle of a song, and that was the show. Fortunately,
The trials and tribulations of technology.
The technology part of it, that's been probably the biggest challenge. Is it's not a perfect world, and thankfully we're all sort of. And I think I also realized during this time of shut-in how much we can lose a lot of the things that we used to do and we used to think were important. The real thing is important is connection and people being able to connect. And it's been really satisfying to be able to experience a show together with somebody that I was responsible for finding and bringing to the fore, with people that I care about that aren't in my space anymore or can't be with me, so that's been a really rewarding thing. And as it turns out, the musicians are making really good money, so we don't have a huge audience, but we're a generous one. And I think that the audience size in terms of our feed has grown from, we were like 300 people that followed WAM on Instagram, because that was always the lowest priority in our efforts to produce this community event every year. And we haven't really attended it. So it was kind of like, didn't grow very far. Now we're up around, I think, getting closing in on 600 in the last couple of months. So it's helped grow our feed. But when I reach out to talent that have significant followings or have a management, somebody that's managing them, they look at our feed and it's like, well, it's only 500, 600 people. It's harder to get, the kind of talent that I'd like to get in, who are still up and coming. But if they've got management, it's usually a little bit of a barrier. But so far, the talent's been amazing. I've been every show, I'm like, I'm so glad that worked out. It's been fantastic. So.
John, thank you so much. I mean, just you being a part of our community and doing something that is out of the norm and looking outside of your box during this. I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at and saying, how are people going outside the box? How are people looking at the world and saying, how can I, as we know the words are, pivot, change, modify, rearrange? I mean, all of those things that are happening, we're so grateful for. And it's just finding people like yourself and saying, what have you done to help our community, to help these artists that might be their only job, is playing at bars or playing at restaurants, and that might be the only place that they can make money. And so with that said, John, we really appreciate what you've done. Mostly I've seen, I mean, the ones that I've been on for the local community, but growing this and making it into something that might be able to continue into the future. And who knows where this brings things. So,
well, I think thanks for that. I appreciate your appreciation. And I'm doing it because I love it, and it gives me a lot of joy. And everyone needs a little joy in their life, especially now. And I think that, the medium of stripped down concerts that are intimate like this, I think this is going to be around for a while, not just with this effort, but there's a ton of other options out there that people are doing it. So I think it's going to be around. So I encourage everybody to follow WAM, W-A-M, Block Party on Instagram, and you'll stay tuned into what we're doing there and hopefully catch a live show every Friday night at 6 p.m.